everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined by Franc Sanmartí. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting us. Good morning.
It's a pleasure. So firstly, do you think the industry is where it needs to be to hit the net zero by 2050 targets?
Well, we were the first airline group to commit becoming net zero in 2050. This was in October 2019. And the first objective, because 2050 is a bit far from today, right? The first objective we said was, okay, in 2025, as first objective, we need to be at 10% less footprint per passenger. Good news is last year we finalized at minus 9.5, so we are almost there. The following objective will be in 2030 with the use of 10% sustainable aviation fuel, which is almost double that what Europe will require, which is 6%. And this will let us achieve more than 20% net reduction. So we are on track as company. Also, I think that as industry, we can be proud because aviation is the first in the world sector that has committed to be net zero in 2050, and this is a big challenge. But as we have said before and always, we cannot do this alone. We need the commitment of all the stakeholders, all the value chain of aviation, and therefore that's why we have been doing, for instance, a big awareness campaign on what is sustainable aviation fuel and what has to be done to promote its use.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking more about sustainable aviation fuel. Where are you drawing the balance between SAF and investment in new technologies, sort of more environmental friendly technologies?
Yeah. So if we see the CO2 roadmap from today to 2050, and we give a weight to every technology, we could say that around 20% could be aircraft technology, around 60 to 70% could be sustainable aviation fuel. Then around 10% could be operational efficiency. So how do we operate? How do we fly the trajectories into the air? And the remaining one could be carbon capture, to give a figure. So sustainable aviation fuel, the great advantage is that it's a technology that can be used today. It avoids CO2 emissions by 80% in the case of organic sustainable aviation fuels, up to 100% in the case of synthetic fuels, also known as e-fuels. And then here we are working, we were the first airline, low-cost carrier in the world to offer SAF to our customers and then to offset it, to match it to double the amount of CO2 reduced. So since we launched this initiative, more than 200,000 customers have opted to contribute in their flight for this SAF, and we have matched this contribution, doubling. And that's why we have done this, because we want to give awareness to the people that this solution exists, sustainable aviation fuel, and that we have to go all together for this achievement. Then you also asked about other technologies. So here about operational efficiency, for instance. Here we are working on a very innovative and unique working group between an airline and an airspace provider, which looks for optimal trajectories. So basically avoid flying doing zigzags and trying to fly as straight as possible, or at least optimizing the winds. Just two examples of balancing both options.
Absolutely. So it sounds like SAF might be something more immediate while you work in tandem with other technologies to put in place as we...
Well, SAF has more impact, so it's the key measure for aviation, because it will have an impact of 60-70% of total CO2 in 2050, but it's more on a mid-term. We are supplying sustainable aviation fuel today on a daily basis in small amounts because it has the price problem. Current price is from 3 to 5 times more expensive than conventional fuel. This is why we will have to wait yet until we see fully deployment. But on the short term, we are doing these operational improvements that I told you that, for instance, we have removed all the paper on board with digitalization or ultralight seats, ultralight trolleys. We are renewing the fleets in the last 10 years. There has been an improvement in the efficiency. So just to give you a number, the new technology aircraft, the new generation aircraft have 20% less CO2 emissions with all these measures combined than the previous version. So this is more short term, the optimization of the operation, and then sustainable aviation fuel will come in a staggered way in a second phase.
Fantastic. And you mentioned about efficiency when it comes to flight paths. This was a big topic of discussion when we looked at the Single European Sky Agreement recently. Are you satisfied with the agreement's ability to drive meaningful progress with sustainability?
Well, there are two possible approaches. One is discussing the political agreements and how we implement this from agreements between countries of the member states. But our approach is more that through digitalization, through innovation, we can achieve the same objectives of the Single European Sky. Basically, this is reducing CO2 emissions by 10% and avoiding 18 million tons of CO2 per year. This is what we want. This is the objective. And through technology, we believe that we can achieve this. How? For instance, this working group that I told you, in which Vueling, together with ENAIRE, the Spanish airspace provider, we have set a new standard in which we can measure optimal trajectories. And then identifying those optimal trajectories, we are able to see how much CO2 we could have been avoided. And then working all together from Europe, from different stakeholders, to pursue the improvement of that common goal between airlines and air navigation service providers, which is reducing CO2 emissions.
And with that digitalization as the key.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. And then thinking about the event now, how does it help to drive meaningful change in the industry?
Yeah, alliances is key. We cannot achieve goals alone, so that's why we need to do partnerships. We need to work all together. That's clear.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.